Women in Print Alliance is dedicated to connecting, empowering, and advancing women in the print industry. As part of Printing United Alliance, we're fostering a more inclusive future through advocacy, education, and networking opportunities that connect women across the entire industry. Join us as an individual to grow your career, expand your network, and access exclusive resources, or enroll your entire organization to show your commitment to supporting women in print. Become a member today at womeninprintalliance.org and help us shape the future of print.
Welcome to Her Imprint, part of the Impressions Exchange. I'm Denise Gustafson, your host. This podcast celebrates the remarkable women who are transforming the printing industry. We'll explore their journeys, from challenges to triumphs, and share the stories that leave a lasting imprint. Today, I have with me Milissa Bergman. She's Corporate Procurement Manager with Innovar Packaging. So, Melissa, welcome.
Hello. Nice to spend some time with you, Denise.
It is a pleasure to have you. Getting us started, can you give us a little bit of background about Innovar Packaging and a little bit about what you do for them?
Oh, absolutely. Innovative Packaging Group. I started there about 4 years ago. When I started, we had 4 locations and with the intent to grow. I had no idea we were going to triple in the 4 years. So we're up to 12, 13 locations with more coming. I think I found my home in Innovar, and only because everybody wants to do the right thing. Everybody is so welcoming. Everybody just wants to do the best thing for the customers, and it's really exciting.
That is awesome. So now, do you guys specialize in one type of packaging or do you run the gamut?
We run the gamut. All of our locations are flexo print and digital. We run the gamut with shrink, we extended content, prime labels. Really, we'll do anything the customer's looking for. We're innovative. We're looking for that special materials or whatever that's going to develop and sell their products. It's fun. It's fun. I am always looking for new materials. I'm looking for sustainable. That's a huge focus. So we really just want to do what the customer's looking for, and we have the capabilities to do it and the people behind it.
Awesome.
Smart people.
Now, you say you've been with Innovar for 4 years.
Yeah.
So is that your first entry into print? And if so, why print?
It's not my first entry, but it's not far beyond that. I started in another company probably about 2 years before that. And before that, I had been in just about any industry before. So healthcare, I've been in chair manufacturing, video game manufacturing. So fun stuff. I always say I could buy a laser for your eyes all the way down to nuts and bolts and fabricated material and then onto motherboards. I dig in and learn, and I've been in every industry that you can imagine. But I would say print is really fun. I wish I would have found it earlier. The people, the information, the impact that we have. During COVID, we were like frontline and we were necessary.
Essential workers.
Essential. Yes, we were essential. And gosh, I had no idea. I had no idea that the depth and the intricacies of labels. It's
So now
amazing.
you've worked in all of these different industries, now doing the
Yes.
similar thing. So you're doing procurement or purchasing at that point?
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yep.
how did you get into that in the first place?
Yeah, isn't that funny? I did not go to school and say I want to be a purchaser or in procurement. I went to school in finance, so I like numbers, but then I like people too, and I love shopping. So there's that. So
Who doesn't? Come on.
I love getting a deal. Once I stumbled into it, I was in the accounts payable department, so I was paying the invoices. And then a buyer position came up, and I just found my niche, right? I love people, I love working with people. I get to work with every department in every business. I get to work with all those people, make their day better. And then I can work and with all the suppliers and learn all kinds of really neat stuff. And my thirst for information and research is quenched. And then I can also save the day and get a great deal. I think that fills my dopamine and it just fills my tank.
Which is good. And
Yeah.
hopefully with all the purchasing you're doing at work, you're not doing it at home too.
I'd like to say that, but it carries over. It carries over. Black Friday is my holiday.
I can only imagine the deals that you find. Because you're a professional shopper, basically.
I am a professional shopper. Exactly. And I always say it doesn't really even matter that it's nuts and bolts or it's bop material. I love it. I love learning about it. I love to find out how they make it. I like to figure out if this happens in the economy, then it follows through everywhere. So it's every day is learning and I like that.
So I imagine COVID probably, I guess technically you weren't within the industry during COVID, but
Yeah, I
COVID,
was. Yep.
oh, you were supply chain issues. So trying to figure out who had what, where you could get stuff from who.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Tariffs are
funny.
probably a thing too at this point.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because in every other industry I've been in, we never had 1 day lead times in our materials. So we always stocked, we always forecasted, and we always had mins and maxes and all of that information. So when I came and then COVID hit, everybody didn't have a safety stock. And it was so foreign to me. I'm like, what do you mean we don't have a dual source for that? Or what do you mean we don't have a stock and we're out in a day? So that was really interesting. And it was a big learning curve for everybody. And warehouses were overstocked because we didn't have to have that space. It was really a shift in doing business. And I was glad that I could bring my knowledge of what we did in the past in other industries to them to help them facilitate that a little bit. It's
Yes,
interesting.
it's crazy how so many companies during that time were not prepared because they
No,
just don't stock. It's honestly, it's
right?
square footage. If you're
Yep.
in a city, it's a lot of money just to store stuff that you
Oh,
may or
yeah.
may not use.
Oh, yeah. And then trying to figure out what that max is. I don't want to hold too much inventory
Mhm.
and utilizing the computer systems that we have. And some didn't even have that capabilities. So it was really a shift for a lot of people. How much money are we saving? Or how much money are we storing in inventory? And is it the right inventory? And the warehouses were struggling to find space for it. It was really challenging. And everybody was, we wanted to keep the material coming for our customers and they were ordering more. So there was that. It was a nightmare, but it was fun. It was fun facing those challenges and trying to work with people to figure out how are we going to store this or
Yeah,
how are we going to do this? And so it was a lot of fun and stressful.
I can only imagine. Not long after COVID, I want to say in 2021, 2022, I had done some shop visits and companies that normally would have had lot wide open space. It was literally like a hoarder's house. It was like literally like pallets of
Yeah.
paper and various consumables, and there was just paths through because they needed to have it on hand. They
Yeah.
didn't know when they were gonna get it again.
Yeah. And we had to
Crazy.
do that. We absolutely had to do that. And it was difficult for, especially difficult for the people that were working through this. It was dangerous at a certain point where you have things in the aisles and
Mhm.
they're not used to working like that. It was a lot of working with people and working through that and trying to get them to look at it a different way and trying to get the teams together. So it was tense. Everybody was blaming it on purchasing, which everybody blames it on purchasing. And it was definitely a challenge for sure.
What
Yeah.
have companies learned since then?
So I think we've learned not to single source, right? If you're going to qualify, especially for those more difficult items to find, if you're going to qualify something, qualify two things if you can. You also learned to keep a little safety stock. And where does that fall? I also found out just working closer with your suppliers and getting that communication open. Sometimes it's meeting weekly or daily. At a certain point, we were meeting daily with a lot of our suppliers to go through, I need this is my priority today. What can you do? We definitely learned how to communicate and how to break some of those barriers. It used to be you'd send a PO, it came, you got confirmed, you didn't think another word of it. And suppliers had to learn that. They had s- rooms, specific emergency rooms where they all met and their triage rooms and they talked about their supplies and what they were getting and what they weren't getting and what customers needed what and how do I allocate it. And it was, and you relied on your supplier to allocate what you normally buy because there were so many people buying, hoarding. Just, I need this and I know I'm going to need it for 6 months and I'm going to order it. And we had to rely on our suppliers, our partners, to curb that and help us get what we needed it to.
And
Yeah.
those relationships were key.
Key. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it didn't matter If you screamed and yelled, they didn't have it. So we were literally all in that safety boat together. So you had to work together.
Yeah, it's not like they could just magically have it. So now one of the things I had a question that you mentioned earlier is that you are a lover of learning.
For
So
sure.
how important was it for you to have mentors or to have people to really help you learn a new industry? Because like you said, you have been in so many other different industries. Now you're
Right.
entering printing, whole different type of materials that you're buying, all different things you're trying to figure out. How important was it to have that kind of support?
What I rely on is my people that have been there forever. They want to help, they want to give you their knowledge. I want to learn it. I relied on those people a lot. I relied on suppliers a lot too. So they want to sell their product, they want to develop that relationship, and they have a lot of information. And I would always preface it like, I'm just curious, or I'm learning this. So can you can you show me that material? Why would I want to use that material instead of this? And a lot of them have training programs. So I dug in that way. I am a good researcher and I'm used to researching. And really, after so many years, you know the questions to ask. And sometimes you don't, but you learn that along the way too. And I'm very patient with myself and with others. And you have to be because it's not going to stick in your head and overnight. Although I wish we could download some of our people that have been there for years and get some of that knowledge. But really, you rely on those people and your suppliers and research. There's so much out there on the internet now, on YouTube. You just dig in, you can go down a rabbit hole for hours. And visits, I love learning. So it's not intimidating for me. And I don't mind asking a lot of questions.
It's funny, I have to say you're probably pretty unique in that case because a lot of people I talk to don't like asking questions. It's advice that they always give. I should learn to ask more questions, to be more inquisitive. I know a lot of people, they say they don't want to appear that they don't know things or that
Yeah.
they might be weak in certain areas.
Yeah.
But for you, it's just part of life.
And it's not a weakness. And I told my boss this. I'm not that person that's going to sit at my desk and go, "Oh gosh, I wish I knew this." Or I'm the person that's going to go, "Oh gosh, I bet I could find a great way to change this process and learn along the way." And change is fun for me. I know that's not like a lot of people, but it's a way to improve things and improve myself. And I'm never going to stop doing that.
That's an awesome way to think. And
Yeah.
yeah, for most people, change is
Yeah.
scary. They avoid it at absolutely all costs. How many times have we heard it? That's
Yeah.
the way we always do things.
Oh, that's a line everywhere. And you know what I found with that line is that I learn a lot from that line. If you're going to ask follow-up questions to that line, you can learn where your roadblocks are. You can learn how to avoid them. You can learn something new and to try something different because I think I've got great ideas, but it's the people that have done it before that are gonna make that idea even better. So I always, when I get that question, I'm like, so what happened when you tried that? Or why do you think it's not going to work? And then I just break those down and build on that. And that's how you move that needle. So that's what I find is fun.
And it is, like I said, you are so unique in that regard, willing to dig in, to ask those questions, to
Yeah.
challenge the status quo in some ways, and not in a bad way, but in a way so that way you understand where you might have some specific blocks that no, we can't go this way. And these are the reasons why, versus, oh, no, maybe we can go do this a different way and we'll get a better result.
Yeah, and I learned that the hard way. I learned it really the hard way. I wanna make a difference, wanna make change, come in with my ideas, but they're not unique. You'll be remiss if you don't just tap into that knowledge, and those people that are saying it won't work, they want it to be better. They just they don't wanna try the same thing. So, you find out how you can tweak that a little bit and make it their idea a little bit, and you get better results.
Now, another thing you mentioned earlier when you're talking about what you're doing is that you've done a lot of purchasing in terms of sustainable products.
Oh, yeah. Fun.
Has that changed a lot since you've been there? Or is that something that has always been a big thing for your customers?
The momentum is starting. I think it was always on everybody's mind. I think we can't live on the earth and not think about it. but I think it's the momentum's coming. Do I think it's going to change overnight? No, not at all. I think the US is so big and the infrastructure is not there. They have so many challenges yet that they have to iron out. I see the legislation that's coming up in the certain states changing that a little bit, but we've got a ways to go yet in the US. I think we can learn from mistakes in other countries. I think it's going to move forward, not super fast until people have to pay for it. But it is exciting. It's the right thing to do. And I think if we can leave this earth in a better place for our kids and our kids' kids, that's the right thing to do. And we can. We're a bunch of smart people. So I don't see why we can't get this done. But it's going to take a mindset and a change and maybe a better focus from legislation. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely always been on Innovar's radar because it's on our customers' radar. And we are going to provide them with as much information as they need or want, maybe a little bit more, but we're going to try to get them to feel comfortable with the changes too.
How easy is it to source more sustainable products?
In certain areas, it's easy, pretty easy. When you think of the water bottles, they're pretty much recyclable as is right now with the bot materials and they can get ground down. Key there is collecting, right? We have to get our infrastructures in place to collect as many water bottles as we can, and then we'll make an impact. So that I think is doable, right? But we have other materials that sus- just by their nature aren't recyclable or compostable. And so we need to focus on those infrastructures and those ways of reusing, recycling. So yes, some are and some aren't. And that's the long and the short of it.
Yeah. Then if you want to go down that rabbit hole, then you talk about in certain industries, it's de-inking as well
Yeah. Yeah.
before. And then, but if it's with the consumer, what are all those steps and is it really in place? And
Yeah.
I know there's various EPR regulations that are now starting in various states as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, the consumer. We can do all this stuff. We can make it recyclable. We can make but if the consumer isn't doing their part, and I don't think it's not that they don't want to. I don't think they have the education because it's different in every state, in every municipality. And unless you're going to dig in and go into those websites and find out how you recycle certain items, I don't think that's the consumer's responsibility. I really think we need that education out there. We need to make it easy. And I think we have a responsibility to help them help themselves and help us.
Yeah, honestly, I lived in New York for a good portion of my life. Then I moved to Rhode Island. I'm now in Massachusetts. Honestly, the recycling laws for each of those states seem to be so different.
Right.
In every one we go to, I have friends in
Right.
Vermont. They have a completely different thing that they have to do. And
Right.
it just boggles my mind. I'm like, wait a minute, you have to do this, that, and the other thing in order to make sure
Yeah.
or you're going to get fined. Because then there's fines associated with it too on the consumer side. But then is it really getting recycled? That's always my question. Isn't
Right.
we're doing all these things, we're jumping through all these hoops. Is it really getting to where it needs to go so it can be
Yeah.
recycled, so it can be reused?
Yeah. And I did visit a MRF, which is a sorting facility in outside of Chicago. And I was amazed, really, because I felt like you. Is it going in a landfill? What's going on? And because that's out there, a lot of it is going to the landfill, and it is truly. But I was pleasantly surprised at how well they're doing if it can get to that point. So if it can get to the sorting facilities, they can sort it. It's just they don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I walk up to a 3 container bin as a consumer, and I don't know if it's trash because it's dirty or should I put it in with the paper and the plastic? And so it's hard for a consumer who has a million other things to be worrying about to get that to the right place.
My husband and I have that conversation about pizza boxes all the time.
Oh my gosh. Pizza boxes are different from city to city.
I know. Granted, pizza up here is not as good as New York. I will completely say that. But the same, and so there's grease on the cardboard, so you can't put it in the recycle because they won't take it if it's greasy. I'm like, but it's
Well,
just I'll live
how is
with
it
it.
greasy? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, and we talk about that. I've been to some seminars, some sustainability seminars, and they talk about that. Like, It is some you can't put that in your box, some you can, some you have to break it down, and, it's just all over the place, and I think we need some kinda guidance, whether and I don't know if it's legislation from the federal level, I don't know, and I don't know, and I'm not smart enough to know all of that, but I do know that as a general consumer, I don't they aren't educated, and there are other people that are, but think about it, you are in New York City, you know those people that are living in New York City are just living in these big apartments and going about their day. They just need it easy and they need to make a better choice, and sometimes that's not possible either.
Yeah, and especially, like, in Vermont, they had compostable. So it's like you had to put compostable in another thing, and it's just like, you figure in an apartment in New York City, that's not there's no
No,
way you have a compostable container in your apartment.
no way, absolutely not. And I don't see that happening either. So I don't know. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it. And with the new technology with AI and all this stuff coming out, I would love to see it that we all throw our stuff in and it gets to somewhere and they sort it and then
Mhm.
get to the right places because that's where the impact's going to be. As long as they can get it to those sorting facilities, they can do their job. It's just getting it there.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing something about there was one facility that or state that you can literally throw everything together, and the sorting facility is done by, like, robotics and AI, and it sorts it. So it's like it's so easy on the consumer, but then it does get sorted correctly when it's, where it at the sorting facility.
Right.
But
Yeah.
do we
Well,
have the infrastructure to do that? That's a whole,
yeah.
goodness, rabbit hole to go down at that point.
It is. It is. In fact, I was at one seminar and I said, because we talk about this legislation and they are finding the packaging. It goes on weights. So the weight that they're going to be putting into the landfill, they get a fine on it. And if it's recyclable, then it's less of a fine. And so I said the infrastructure isn't set up for that. So think about glass. Right now, glass is so heavy. And if you're in the glass area, that you're going to pay a bigger fine on that. And I said, but the infrastructure right now isn't set up for glass or paper and all of that. It's getting there. And he said they're going to use that fine money to develop that infrastructure.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I said, okay, I guess if they can't use our tax dollars, it's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah, they need the money some way to figure that out.
Yeah, they do. And that's the bottom line. It's going to be about who's funding it.
So I have to ask you this question.
Sure.
Why does print really jazz you up as much as it does? Because it obviously does.
Oh gosh, I think because it touches everybody, right? I
Okay.
mean, it's a way of communicating and I like communicating, but it's also like we can make a difference. We can make an impact on everybody's life, whether it be telling them what's in that bottle or giving you more information to make an informed choice while you're shopping. But it also goes farther than that. So I can make an impact on the economy, I can make an impact on consumers' lives, and I can make an impact in the environment. It just touches so much, and I use it every day. So I can link those dots, and it closes that loop for me.
But you're in the industry. How many people outside of the industry understand that economy,
Right.
understand
No.
all of the touch points?
Yeah. No. And I didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't. And I had no idea that I picked up that bottle of ketchup just like everybody else. I had no idea the the depth of this and what was all involved in that little label and the thought and the design. That's interesting too. That's a whole nother, like, just the people that have touched that label to get it to where you are. It's amazing. And let's face it, it's good for our economy and in our jobs and people keeps us all moving. And I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like when you hold like that ketchup bottle, how many jobs are actually behind that
Right.
bottle?
Yeah.
From the creation of the bottle itself to the
Yeah.
design of the bottle, to the design of the label, to the printing of the label, to the filling, all of the steps that go into it. Yes, a lot of it is automated, but it's a mindful design.
Yeah. And you can take that even in my role. What materials are we going to use to make that label so it can perform the way it needs to perform for the end customer that needs that information. So it can't fall off during extreme heat. It needs laminate coat over it so it does the inks don't, And there's so much into that, and it's really interesting, and it's evolving. So it's not stopping here. It'll be neat to see in a few years where it all ends up.
Yeah, especially as I see a lot of packaging is moving toward like flexible pouches and stand-up pouches
Yeah. Yep.
versus other board or other boxes, what they're doing. So instead of having a bag inside of a box, it's now a pouch that can stand on its own.
Yeah.
How far that has come even in the last few years.
Yeah, and then throw in a QR code now.
Mhm.
You can just scan it and get your information on your phone. You can register it and the RFID. You can track that from beginning to end. And hopefully that'll help in the quality as well. So you have any issues, you know exactly where that's been. And it's evolving for sure.
But with a lot of that, there has to be the brands willing to spend the money to making sure that has to that all of those pieces, because it's a cost somewhere along the way. Or
Yeah.
put the RFID technology in to make sure you have the systems that can actually speak to it, that they have everything listed in the back end and everything's accurate.
I would agree. And I would agree that ultimately, everybody in manufacturing asks the same question. Would my customer pay for that? Right? Is it important to my customer? And some is and some aren't. So it's that fine line. I think you gain efficiencies in different places. And so you might not be in the cost, but it goes quicker or our presses are down less. And all of that stuff plays into it that I would have never known until I worked here. And how fast can I run that material in my press? And all of
Mhm.
that plays into that. So it's crazy.
All of the variables.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I had no idea. I picked up that when I just went home.
Indeed. As
And
we're
my family does get a little sick of me. I'm like, you have no idea.
That's okay. They need to know all of this stuff. It's important.
Yeah.
It's very important. So as we're wrapping up, my favorite question, and it's the one
Yeah.
that I always end with,
uh,
is knowing what you know now. So you have your 6 years in the printing industry, your history just in procurement in general. What advice would you give yourself if you were just starting today, knowing what you know now?
I like that too. So I would look at my younger self and I would say, be patient with yourself. You're going to screw up and that's okay. You're gonna learn from those mistakes, and it's only going to make you a better person and a better teammate and a better employee, better person. And then I would also tell myself that there's more to this job than buying and processing and transactions. It's about the relationships you build along the way. And that saying, did I, people remember how you make them feel versus how what you said to them, developing those relationships. And at the end of the day, this industry's built on that. And that's one thing when I got into this industry that I noticed it's close, it's tight knit. People want to do the right thing. And if you can develop that trust and that relationship, they're going to pick up that phone when things get tough and you're going to have all the help you need. You don't have to do it alone.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Now if we can only follow it, right?
Yeah, although as I get older, I do care about relationships a lot more than I did when I was younger and just trying to get through my days. It's neat to talk to people, like, just learning a little bit about you is interesting, and I've learned something new today, and
Melissa, it was a pleasure chatting with you today. I really appreciate the time you spent. Thank you for joining us on this journey to celebrate and amplify the voices of women in the printing industry. If you have a story to share or know someone whose journey deserves to be highlighted, we'd love to hear from you. Together, let's continue inspiring and empowering the next generation of leaders. Until next time, keep leaving your imprint. This is Her Imprint. See you soon.